Greetings, Moonlight Citizens. This is your Moonlight King, the man on the moon, here with the 99th episode of the Moonlight Kingdom Podcast. And on this episode, we will be discussing the TV show, the popular South African TV show, Generations, as well as its reboot, Generations The Legacy. We will be discussing Uzalo, Twist of Fate, the recasting of Aunt Vivian in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, amongst other things. And before we get into that, I just want to, to take a moment to do something I never really got the chance to do around the time that, this event happened. I would like to use this moment as we discuss a show that both these actors were on to talk about, not just, the shows itself that they were on, but the actors in question. I would like to talk about, you know, just the legendary careers and just performances and outright, lives of both iconic actors and just two of the very best, like the best we've ever seen. Two of the very best South African actors in Menzingubane and joemafela. Menzingubane known for various film and television roles, most notably his role as Sbusiso Dlomo in Generations, and joemafela, known for a decades-long career in film, television, and music, most notably his performance as Stumo in the TV show Iskuris Nice. So, yeah, joemafela, born 1942, passed away 2017, and Menzingubane, born 1964, passed away in 2021. May they both rest in peace, rest in power. Their their legacies will forever be remembered fondly and enshrined in the history of the South African film and television. You know, just you can't say you can't look at the world of film and TV, specifically TV, and the making of the South African broadcast channel, what it is in the realm of entertainment and just, art and filmmaking and whatever. You just can't look at that without these two and the impact they made throughout their careers over the decades, stretching as far back as, the 90s all the way until the 2010s. It's just, the indelible mark these both left behind as a result of all the hard work they put in throughout the years on film, on TV, with music, with behind the scenes work, and just the all the fond things their co-stars and fan members and even fans and many people have come forward to say about them as people. Just it says a lot that these people were great. Well, both Menzingubane and joemafela were just overall great people, not just on camera but behind the scenes as well. From what I've from everything I've seen and from everything we've heard of all the people who've interacted with them and their personas on screen. So yes, I just wanted to take a moment before we get into the episode to give the proper respect and acknowledgments to both the lives and careers of one joemafela and Menzingubane. Rest in peace to Stumo and Busisa Shoma. We thank you and for all the memories you've given us, and we, we'll miss you dearly. That's just, that's what I got to say on that. Apologies for beginning on a bit of a dour note. However, that is, as you can tell, that was, I didn't plan this. This was just from off the cuff. I just wanted to give the proper respect that I wasn't able to give way back when, because when these actors passed, I didn't have the platform with which to properly honor and acknowledge both their careers in a way that was befitting. I just so yeah, that was my tribute to them as we discussed this show that they were both on and both made significant significant impact on in regards to their roles on the show Generations and across various television and film. So yeah, let's get into that one and we discuss this show amongst other shows on the South African broadcast channel 1 in 3, 2, 1, boom.
Obviously, Mfundi became that exact thing. The think he probably joined the industry to stop our hungry TV executive, whatever. But that's exactly who he ended up becoming. And not generations is pretty much talentless, but a very bad actor who's constantly ridiculed on social media.
Yeah, that shit's starting to sound like Taylor Sheridan and all his Westworld spin-offs. What's this? Not Westworld. Fucking. What's that show with Kevin Costner where they like live on the ranch and does it just
Oh
count?
yeah, he wasn't
Yeah. That's
It's weird. It is. Fuck. Okay, wait. Let's go on.
I don't know how that shit's still running, but I know it got like that spin-off like 1923 or something. That looks okay. It's got like Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren. Yeah, Yellowstone. Yeah, that was it. Yellowstone. Fucking shit.
It got the nomination. That's how good it was.
Oh yeah. But going back to like generations, I wanted to ask, man, how'd you feel when they like rebooted the shit? Cause we were like still in high school when that happened. Like way back when it was like, cause it was just regular generations, and then there was like they went on strike, and like all of a sudden they announced like, oh yeah, generations is coming back, and they just rather than like bring back the old cast and continue, they just rebooted the whole thing and made Generations the legacy. How'd you feel when like that was going on? Did you like that big change?
It was pretty dumb, I feel. I mean, obviously, the, the writers don't pay the artists that act in the show and actresses. They don't pay them. The writing room doesn't really pay them. They're not paid by the producers. They're paid by Fundi himself. He's the executive producer. Now, if you're trying to find the actual problem, it's the fact that the industry is very exploitative and actors don't nearly get paid what they would in South Africa. So ultimately, when Fundi fired his cast, the writers didn't really have a lot to work with. They had to crunch up a new story on the fly. It was probably very disruptive towards production, but they stuck the landing as well as they could, given what this guy frantically did in like a fucking coke in, I don't know, like a fucking coke induced psychosis. I just think that's when he fired them. Like, I don't think he was in his right mind. It was like one of the most shocking things to happen in the TV industry, I would say. And I don't know if any show has ever suffered a loss that big. Like, imagine if the Big Bang Theory just decided to pause production and suddenly come out with like an entire new cast, but the fucking guy who plays that nerd with the lisp, he's the only existing previous cast member. Like, how stupid would that be? It would be really stupid. I think it's stupid. I don't know.
Yeah, actually,
Whole show
it's funny you say that because they're actually doing that. They're actually doing a spin-off with Stuart and some of the side characters. I think it's called like Stuart Saves the Universe or some shit. Like they actually.
Oh yeah, I'm confused. I was like, I'm going to Marvel. Why is he saving the universe? Is the Big Bang Theory a show about like this is gonna be like magic? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I did see it.
Yeah.
Strange though.
Actually, weirdly enough, we were talking about Generations and the decision to just shit can the entire cast. Mind you, they were like, it wasn't even like, oh yeah, the season's over and they're taking time off to film new shit. If I remember correctly, they were like mid-season, and then everyone was just gone. The show was off the air for like a couple weeks, and then next thing you know, it was back, and all of a sudden, oh yeah, they weren't extras or backgrounds. They were like supporting cast. Now all of a sudden they were the leads. Cause I remember like Cosmo was Kumkani's right hand guy,
and now all of a
Yeah,
sudden he's essentially the main character.
like
Uh,
the big boss. Like he's the new big boss.
yeah, it was so
Yeah,
jarring, man. It was so weird seeing this because
he
it.
was a lackey with very few speaking lines in the old show.
Yeah, now he's.
I was like, they're exploring his character as a lackey.
Yeah, and like now we're seeing like his sister's fresh out of jail. He got a niece, and I'm just like, what the like? Wait, this dude who
Yeah,
was like, who's basically Ace? You remember Ace, like the guy with the toothpick? He was basically that guy,
and
and now we're
it was very bald.
oh shit.
It's very, it's very weird, I must say, especially considering they didn't bother to expand on Ace's story. But I think when it comes to Cosmo, obviously his character had some legs, considering that the actual actor himself, he's pretty much known for playing Amapara, for playing the gangsters, especially his role on Soul Buddies, Yizo Yizo. Like, there's no way you're gonna get him as a lackey and not eventually open up on a story. Hey, see, yeah, nah, yeah, good see. It's just that he's Ace is more like of like a generic skinza, a generic, Skotani. There's not really enough storytelling, legs to put on a person like Ace. He was very run of the mill henchman.
Yeah, but he
Cosmo
yeah.
looks crazy. He looks ridiculous, out of his mind.
Well, I was, I remember like laughing my ass off when they gave him a love interest, and it was like that Asian woman who wanted to turn his little restaurant into a franchise. I saw this and I was like, wait, what?
Very,
I was like,
very weird.
hold up. So this random Asian woman representing this big corporation apparently wants to turn a random like a scuffed in chicken into a franchise, and I'm just thinking, really?
I think it's like the next chicken lick and hungry lion.
Like,
I think it's the next big thing.
yeah, like I saw that, I'm like, okay, that's okay, stretching the suspension of disbelief, but then she has like feelings for him and shit, and you knew this wasn't gonna last. You knew this random woman. No disrespect to this actress, but you knew like she wasn't gonna be no regular occurrence on this cast. Like this relationship definitely wasn't gonna last.
Exactly, exactly. Like it was a very, it's a kind of, bait out dynamic that they show you in like movies. Like, will they get together? No, they won't. Will they? Maybe they will. Nah, they won't.
Yeah. It's like who Lucy's daughter, like Cosmo's niece and that white dude. Like he was around for like a couple episodes, but I'm like, are we really gonna have? I know the show, the writers and shit aren't racist, but I'm like, are we really gonna have this random white dude be like a regular occurring cast member and be like involved in stories with the Diales and shit? I'm like, it's like,
Very strange. I mean, if you think about it, it's probably because Generations was always pushed as a major telenovela, and not just a sitcom or like a soap. It was much more serious, like the way that they pushed it. And telenovelas, a lot of action-packed things happen at any given moment. And I think the show prided itself with that kind of, reputation. So they probably felt like they had to up the stakes by adding in like white people simply because it's like, oh yeah, the criminals are only gonna get more and more dangerous. Now we're dealing with like international criminals. So it's very weird.
oh yeah. And it wasn't like it was all just romance and shit. They did have like, I don't know, like scorn. It wasn't. It was like scorn lovers. You had like crooks and like kidnappings, and there was one. There was one time early in the show, like back in the day, where like Connie Fergan got mixed up in like apparently human trafficking, because the baby she adopted like the lady she adopted it from wasn't a legit adoption agency. It was like a woman who like stole the baby or some shit. I'm just like, what the?
Mm,
Oh shit.
doesn't make sense. But I think in South Africa, it's the only free entertainment left, I suppose, for people.
Yeah.
The worry, it's a worry why it's mid, because that's the only free public access thing you have now. Without this and Skeem Saam, your whole network is ruined.
I mean, like Uzalo's still on the air, but like I don't really.
Yeah,
Yeah, there was a point where everybody watched Uzalo like randomly. It was the reason I started watching Uzalo. I just randomly came to school one day and I heard dudes talking about, yo man, you see what happened like last week on Uzalo? Like Uklapash and them, you saw that shit? I'm like, okay, let me check this out. And the first episode I watched, dude like buried his wife and son alive, and I'm like, what the fuck? Let me see more of this. What is happening? Somebody fill me in. They were really good at like that like cliffhanger storytelling, or that storytelling that's like, oh, now you gotta watch the next episode. You gotta find out what caused this, or where's this going. But it's sort of just, I don't know. It's like the budget just slid, and then the storytelling slid too.
yeah. I don't know. I don't even know where they got their budget during the earlier years, because it was like imali that was procured from, I think it was like funding. They got some sort of funding grant from, I think, SABC, and also it helps so that the original creator of the show, and like the producer for the first couple seasons, Ubalo to or something, with one of Zuma's daughters is is the executive producer of the show. So I think it does help, especially knowing that unayo yena unoline ku-SABC, because clearly she got some nepotism gig that would, in this sense, help her to raise money for creating a show. Because she seems to be the person who even fired Ukonto. So she has a lot of power.
Oh yeah. And you could see like the show definitely had a whole lot of money whenever characters had to like flash cash on screen, cuz there would be like 200s and 100s just like splayed out, and like normally they would use like prop money, but like you could tell like nah, that's real cash they got like just sitting around somewhere. But then as the budget started to dip, the amount of like money they would flash, even the cars some of the characters would drive, they started to get like cheaper and cheaper, and a lot of scenes
Yeah,
happened in like, those one room houses where everything is in just one room.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep, yep,
It's
definitely. It's to the point where even those like bags of money, those money bricks, would literally be just bricks of like money that. And again, there's different qualities of fake money. You have fake money that can look so good up close, it looks nice, and then there's the kind of money where it's supposed to look good from afar, and it's just like generic bricks. It's like they basically 3D printed this African money pattern in like a blurry fashion, but to where it looks like quality when it's far, like polygons basically. Like they kind of make the effect of money, but in reality, there's no detail, there's no anything. It's just a couple of ink blots to make it look like imali is. I even saw that at some point. Uzubona ukuthi bavele bawa njengequality in a very scary way.
even in terms of like production, like remember like towards, I think around about the time we stopped talking about it, we started noticing like production errors. Like when they would walk past a mirror, you could see the cameraman in the reflection, or in the corner of the screen, you can see the boom mic or some shit like that.
Yeah, And also that's like also now indicative to that quality assurance and quality control. Because if you can't, if you as like I don't know a producer or some sort of executive in the creation process, if you cannot catch like the simple blunder of boom mic slowly sinking into the frame, then I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you because that's like the most that's a like being a continuity director, whatever the name is in South Africa. Such an easy job, and it's such a simple thing to do, and just to do it badly is just so ridiculous. Especially considering there's not a lot you're doing to begin with.
Yeah, especially when you have like scenes that were clearly filmed at different times of the day, cuz like the sun would be in a different spot, and then like okay, you can't control where the sun is. I understand that. But like damn, you could at least film it in such a way that it's consistent with the rest of the scene. You can't have half a conversation clearly take place like midday, and then the rest of it is clearly taking like happening like 2 minutes later. It's like, oh, the sun is starting to set. Like this conversation didn't take hours. What is going on here? The continuity is bad in this regard. But yeah,
Exactly.
also the show just started looking cheap. Like you can't go from like the Klabashi house, which is basically a mansion, to like people are now living in one room houses. Like that's
That's the
government
thing.
housing, man.
I
That's
mean,
uh,
they tried to keep Gunzi. I don't know where. Does he even live in the same house? I don't know. I haven't watched it in forever. The last thing I recall is the house like being inherited and stuff like that. And that guy everyone loves, who played Gunzi's son, who originally came here as a doctor, obviously. Then they found out that he's related to Gunzi, and then I think he catches a murder charge, and then he doesn't go to jail because they cover up the murder. I don't know. That whole thing was very like ridiculous looking.
there was that guy, the priest. They, bro, I remember that shit. They were the funniest fucking recasting I've ever seen in my life. The dude who plays the priest, they thought that he killed Klabashi, but like they found no body. But like he confessed and they found like the motor weapon, so like he went to jail or some shit. But then when Klabashi quote unquote came back, even though it wasn't
Yeah,
him, it was because I think the actor was fired or he quit, but they wanted to like still do shit with the character or some shit.
they fired him. Yeah,
Yeah,
he went to
yeah.
jail.
Yeah, they fired him, and then he quote unquote came back, but we never saw his face. We just saw like a dude in a hoodie. But then right as he was about to show himself, the cops showed up and arrested him. And then so the
Yep.
story was like, okay, so I guess the priest didn't kill the dude, so we have to let him go now. And then out of nowhere, they're like, yeah, we let him go, and he got on a bus and went to Swaziland.
Doesn't make sense.
That was random, dude. Like the dude just like, yeah, he got out of jail, immediately went to Swaziland, and then when the character came back, they recast him with like an older dude.
Yep.
The dude had like a white beard, and you could tell they knew they fucked up because like the next week his beard was dyed.
Yeah. I
Oh
don't know.
shit.
The African costume departments are not. They definitely aren't world class. Well, not world class for sure.
I was like, bruh, like if that's the thing, man. Like if it's one thing if an actor passes away, okay, I can see you, an actor passing away and you like, oh yeah, we quickly had to scramble and we found like someone who could play the role. We didn't necessarily have the time to pick the best person for the job, but this is the best we can do under the circumstances. I can see that. But if a dude
Yeah.
gets fired and you like but you still want to use the character, and then you just grab a dude who's nothing like the other dude. I don't know. It just comes across kind of fucked up. Like, really,
In the
man?
face. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty nice.
Strange. Very strange. Even it happens everywhere. Even with those Z World shows, like those Bollywood TV shows that are like DSTV and
Yeah,
shit.
yeah,
There was one like my grandma used to watch every day, and I would watch it in, like the periphery, because we only had like the one TV with DSTV, and it would be playing in like the periphery, and they recast this one chick. So get this right, the chick that was initially playing her was tall. She was very good looking, very well dressed. I mean, she was practically a model, and then
yeah.
then like COVID happened, and then like she was filming it became very clear she was filming all of her scenes in a different room to everyone else, because there was never a shot where she was in the room with everyone else. There would be a shot of everyone else, and then the camera would cut to her reaction, and then it would cut back. So it's
Oh
like,
my god.
okay,
Yeah.
social,
Post.
yeah,
Post.
yeah,
Yeah.
filming in post, whatever, spliced everything together. But then when the pandemic ended, so you think, okay, everything's back on track, everything's gonna be cool. This like a shorter woman, this woman who's shorter than the last chick, who looks vastly different than the last chick, and whose hair is totally different. Just a totally different character who looks nothing like the other chick comes on screen, and then they're like,
Make,
yeah, this is the supposedly the same character, and I'm like, really?
yeah. Yeah.
I miss the days when sitcoms would at least
Maybe,
joke about that shit. Like, remember with like Fresh Prince?
like with Andrews.
Yeah, that was
Yeah, yeah.
cool. At least acknowledge it somehow that this is a different person. Don't feed me some bullshit like, oh no, this is the person they've always been. Like, no, it's not. I can very clearly see that it's not. The Aunt Viv was the funniest one. Like, because Jazz was like, Aunt Viv, there's something different about you. I just can't, like, put my finger on it. And then Will Smith
Yeah.
looks right at the camera.
He comes in, with like a The Rock eyebrow. Like, you sure about that? Is that thing you see here? That's all.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
Pretty funny. The first one was good at that. The same thing, like the other fourth wall joke about being so broke. We don't even have a roof. And then it
Yeah.
just points up like the production stage.
The spotlights and shit. Oh, damn.
Yeah. I think shows were pretty good, and they were able to break the fourth wall occasionally. Not always, but sometimes occasionally is what's needed. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. And you look at, like, a show like Malcolm in the Middle, it's clear that his fourth wall breaks are just in his head. It's not a thing that everyone can do. But like, yeah, you can do that and have it be done well without it being like the show has stopped just so this character can turn his head and chat to the camera for a bit. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. With regards to like the reboot, do you feel like a digital HD version, especially in this era, because one can argue that the original Malcolm in the Middle is probably quote unquote problematic by today's standards in terms of the story beats that they'd follow. Like you could say that, but do you feel like the show in itself could work given like just what happened to Frankie and like what production was like and what the show like has in terms of legacy?
Malcolm in the Middle can work by today's standards. I mean, you'd have to change a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
you'd have to like drastically tone down the kind of crazy shit the family would get involved in, because they can't
Mm,
be doing the stuff they were doing back in the 90s. Like, TV standards
exactly.
have changed.
It has to be like an adult version of those hijinks.
Yeah.
Something is it's kind of like the way how how certain shows wouldn't work today because the things that they speak about and deal with is so different. Like if Friends happened today, it had to have been like it'll have to be a storyline involving, AirPods, being stolen from a jacket or something. Like it has to be a story that has a modern day center, like as the forefront. So when it comes to Malcolm in the Middle, there has to be something that they're dealing with. Like, oh, they're dealing with a TikTok dance craze, and everyone's trying to become famous off of TikTok to make money off of those galaxies and stuff like that. Like it has to be a story that has some sort of modern day connection. That's the issue that most of these shows deal with. They're trying to create humor from the modern day, confines of entertainment and humor. The comedy is so, laden with modern day references that it kind of dates the thing you're watching to the point where you can tell, oh, this show is made during COVID. Oh, this is made during this. Oh, this is made during that.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest problem that these kind of shows would have, because they just kind of, what they do is they mix in what they used to deal with and they mix in the current events. So instead of dealing with, a story where Hal is trying to discover his masculinity, you're dealing with an episode where Hal is trying to reconcile the fact that in 2026 or 5, there are men who look just like him, but they're pregnant. Why? Because trans women exist and dumb shit like that. Like, it's strange.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far in terms of the writing. You could still do that whole discovering masculinity shit if it was like, oh, you could have it be a thing like Hal has discovered his masculinity way back when, but by today's standards, he has to re realign himself with like what masculinity is, cuz yeah,
Mm-hmm.
what a dude was in the 90s versus what a dude is now is two different things. So it's like, you know, but yeah, you kind of take the edge off a lot of the show if you do that. If you try to sand down or sanitize the 90s characters to fit the modern day mold.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like what we liked about these characters is that they didn't fit the modern day world. They weren't a perfect family. They were dysfunctional as fuck. So yeah, that's going to be a big problem with the show and this reboot is that how do we take that dysfunctional family that's designed to do things that you would look at even way back when and be like, ooh, really? Y'all did that? And have them fit today with like, people are a
Mm.
lot more sensitive and people are a lot more like open to discussion and shit. You know,
Yeah, yeah, I get what you mean. I think I think when certain shows, like, you can create a story that feels like what it was, but do you feel like modern day writing conventions might come in the way of that? Because I think some shows definitely suffer from like a modern day approach, just like some animation. You like, especially, I, look at Gendy Tartovsky movie, that movie about dogs. People will say, "Oh, that's not Gendy's usual style. It's pretty unusual for Gendy. Why did he do this?" He did this because he's been wanting it for a long time, but he was kind of stopped by things like schedule, how busy he is, and generally speaking, money, because it does take money to make these things. But you definitely feel like this movie was bogged down with a lot of modern day writing conventions. Like those kind of jokes that kind of just slip into dialogue. The kind of jokes that happen that you feel like they belong in a trailer. Like that kind
yeah.
of writing style where every a little quip in the end, like a Marvelism. The three characters, four characters in a elevator. They all look angry. One makes a little quip, the other one makes a quip again, and then the scene ends, and it's all dramatic, 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 funny. Next scene. Those kind of story beats, I feel like they also kind of hold things back.
It's the Marvel
They
writing of
definitely.
every scene has to have a joke in it somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. The things nowadays, like especially the structure, things that you write about these days, they're not exactly how we used to write people. how we used to write interactions and situations. We've become a Netflix society in a weird way. Like everything is so tailor made and built for the streaming platform and the streaming culture, the streaming watching culture, basically.
Yeah. James
Mm-hmm.
Mangold was like, he said that he was pitching a movie to Netflix, and I'm sure you've heard this. Like they wanted him to rewrite the dialogue so that it could be like characters explained more shit out loud, so that the audience doesn't have to focus too hard. Like they can be doing something while the movie's playing in the background and not get lost in the story. And like,
Precisely.
yeah. That is a terrible way to write a story. Like, you can just be not paying attention at all and still be able to not be lost in the story. That means everything's been fucking dumbed down and over explained.
Mm-hmm.
To, you're effectively watching an audiobook. You don't even have to look at the screen to, like, be aware of, like,
Mm.
what's happening. It's like, it's a strength and a negative in the sense
Yeah.
because the story doesn't get bogged down with, like, it's not like, okay, every movie can't be a Chris Nolan movie. Let me say that much.
Mm-hmm.
Because with Christopher Nolan movies, you can't do that. I'm just going to leave it playing in the background and I'm going to listen in and follow along. No, you'll be yeah. You'll be
Yeah.
confused. Like what the you'll come say you actually did that. Say you were vacuuming and you were watching I don't know,
Yeah.
fucking uh Dark Knight Rises. And you're like vacuuming and the shit's going on in the background. You take your screen, the eyes off the screen for 5 minutes. You're bound to come back and be like, "Wait a minute, what's going on?"
Yep. Yep. Like those movies, they need your constant attention. Like there's movies that kind of spoon feed you. Like there's movies where they kind of give you a lot of exposition. They let you find things out, incur your own associations. They kind of even tease you with a baiting feel, like this blue ballsing of when a character's gonna die. Like whether they're playing like different music to kind of signal you that, oh, okay, this is the music for this character's death, or this is the music for the death scene, the massacre scene.
Yeah.
This is the death.
Oh,
Like
oh, and
at
they do
points they
that
stop doing this,
that whole
like
"I love
if
you
the
guys" moment. Like like, oh, this motherfucker's
exactly,
dead.
you know, this moment in a movie where this character has their own defining character moment, where they save the day, where they're doing heroic, they get their powers back, or whatever the case happens to be, they double cross, all these things. The minute they do that good thing that you've been waiting for through the whole movie, they gave the world-ending punch, they stopped the world-ending bomb, they stopped the world-ending villain. Any time of thing happening, literally a minute later, they look down, they're stabbed. They look down, they're bleeding. They look down, half of their body's gone, whatever they have. Whatever the case is. It's always a matter of, oh, we won, but at what cost? Now you're bleeding out. Now you're this, now you're that. This is typical. It's so typical. But, can't say it doesn't work. It's just typical.
Yeah. You can see it even in trailers sometimes. Like Ving Rhames in that last Mission Impossible movie. You knew he was gonna die when you saw him talking about like our lives are not defined by any one action. Our lives are the sum of our choices. I'm like, oh man, he's gonna die, isn't he? Why else would he suddenly talk like this?
Speaking like Shakespeare, all deep and shit. Yeah, that's kind of when that's when it's shy. When they have
Yeah.
the when a character who definitely has no lines usually starts getting lines, that's when
And it's always something
things are
deep.
starting to.
When out of nowhere he just starts to get deep when he's never been this deep before. It's like, bruh.
or it's like if we see this character's backstory, his his youth or whatever, his first marriage, his kid, his dead kid, her dead kid. The minute we see that, it's over.
Yeah.
It's over.
I mean, they kind of teased that. Like, I thought that's where Avengers 2 was going when we saw, like, Clint's family and, like, the secret hideaway that they're living in, and we see his kids, and I'm just like, what the? Since when does this dude have a family? Oh, no. He ain't gonna make it, is he? But they subverted us with that. Because typically that's what you think they would do. You think
Yeah.
we're getting all this backstory about Clint, we're spending all this time with his family. They're doing that so that when he dies, we feel something. But like, oh, he's not the one who dies. It's Quicksilver, which makes no fucking sense. Just
Yeah, it wasn't really emotionally charged because I didn't really care about him. Like I know they tried to make it seem emotionally charged by saying you didn't see it coming. Like, it's his first line. I'm crying. I'm so sorry.
just because I didn't see the twist coming doesn't mean it's
I
good.
did not. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like you know, it probably was the start of Marvel's corny writing phase. Because if you do look at it, it was like phase one, phase two. Corn. I think I don't know. Corny writing for Marvel is not like a catch-all thing. Because it's not like they've always been like that. Like it's
Yeah.
just moments. You feel me? Like it's. I think Marvel has cool writing for most of the time, up until you get to the phases after Thanos. Like I think we, I think we could stick the landing for quite a bit of times, almost up until we end up, into the Infinity War, Endgame sagas, Infinity War levels. Like that's kind of when things began to go a little bit haywire. I feel, and I don't know why, because did we not have the same writers the entire time?
I mean, you do have like Marcus and McFeely. They worked on the Avengers movies, but I haven't seen their names in anything in a while.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's cause the writers have changed that the tone and the style of like the Marvel movies in general have changed. That might be the case. It might be a thing that the directors of like the Marvel movies will bring in their own writers to do rewrites and shit, like Ben Affleck did on BVS when they cast him to play Batman, because
Exactly.
he was gonna direct his own Batman movie, and he wanted Batman's debut in BVS to sync up with that movie, so he brought in his co-writer from Argo to do rewrites on BVS for like his Batman. Maybe that's what's happening. But yeah,